Let's have a blessing. God, thanks for this food. We thank you for the wonderful day of worship and fellowship and education we've already enjoyed. Bless this food, strengthen our bodies, that we would continue to rise to your call and remain rooted in your love. In your name we ask these things. Amen. All right, I'm just going to go ahead. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to do some talking. Tammy's going to do some talking. Y'all can ask some questions, but we're going to save the questions for the end because there's a good chance if we just had a free-for-all all the time that we might not ever get all the information shared. And your question might be answered before the end. So if you have a question, you're like me, you may forget unless you jot it down or pull out your phone and make a note on your phone or however it helps you to remember it. And if you're like me, you might not remember your question until later. Here's the great thing. We have telephones at the church. I have email. You can send a pigeon, carrier pigeon, or smoke signals, and we'll get the information that you need. But thanks. Rooted and Rising, you've probably heard those words a couple times today already, but let's get started with a little bit about, some of you were here last week. There will be largely the same, however, more details on specific projects that we'll try to share to paint a better picture of what some of the things we're hoping to accomplish with our two campaigns. So welcome to this Rooted and Rising Town Hall. Our primary objectives are to have absolute transparency to our leadership, to make things just as crystal clear as we can. In addition to that, we hope that these kind of fellowship opportunities, as well as dreaming together and praying together and talking together about the future, will give us a even more shared sense of vision. And we want to know, as I mentioned today, you'll have a chance to ask questions. If I don't know the answer or someone else in leadership doesn't know the answer, we will do our best to track it down and get the answers you're looking for. So you have all of the information. Please, please, please participate. Also, another way you can participate is by getting up if you want more food and not worrying about it while I'm talking or Tammy's talking, and just eat, okay? Oh, wait, did you see our beautiful Rooted and Rising cake? We have dessert. There's more chicken. It looks like some more taters. It looks like Callie's elote went fast. That must have been good. Y'all gobbled that up before I got here. Not that I'm bitter. Okay. Actually, since my bariatric surgery, I can't really eat corn that much, so it's okay. We're talking about being rooted in grace and rising in purpose with this series combined with campaigns. Who are we? Well, we are a Christian church, disciples of Christ. We are about 48-ish years old. As with any congregation, there are ebbs and flows in the life of a congregation. Some folks, members join, members leave, folks die. There's always change. The only people, as they say, screaming for change are babies with dirty diapers. Where are we going? Well, I think we are seeing a transformation, even in a new wave of growth that started in the summer. Even before that, we've had a lot of, came through COVID, had some challenging years. There was around 2019, a senior pastor's departure, went a long period of time without a senior minister. And then COVID, which added to the confusion and chaos, as it did for many congregations. And we're coming out on the other side of it, though, after a couple years of transition, weathering change with a great deal of momentum. As you've seen, I think the last 3 years, we have 25, 35, 45 new members. It looks like this year we may end up with around 50-ish. Just depends. I had more people today go, I need to join this church too. So we'll always make time. You've heard that before. So it's a wonderful thing to sense the Spirit moving. And why it matters, there are about, depending on how you draw the lines, in the Oklahoma City metro area, there are about 800 congregations that call themselves Christian. There are 12, including us, that are open and affirming, and we are one of the 3 largest of those, and we are the only open and affirming congregation in far northwest Oklahoma City. And so that matters deeply because we truly are a church for all people. And as you can see, that is what is drawing new members, is the fact that we are different. If somebody doesn't gel with that, that's great. They're still welcome here. But on the other hand, there's about 792 other churches, or whatever the math is, that they could attend. And so that's why there are even more flavors than Baskin and Robin. So That's why it matters. We are unique. We have a unique calling, a unique vision in greater Northwest Oklahoma City and beyond. We have members now that drive from places like Moore. We have members that drive from places like Kingfisher to attend worship. We have some that worship with us and tithe that we've never met who worship online. COVID changed the world, for better, for worse. It's just different. And we are experiencing some momentum in a new and different world. So it can be confusing. When we talk about Rooted and Rising, there are two campaigns, yet one vision. The vision is all about these three words. We say them each week: community, spirituality, justice. That is the same as our denomination's vision statement, which came out several years ago. We adopted it, I think it was 2022 rather, in our bylaws. And so there are two campaigns that go along with that one vision. The Nourish Now is just simply an annual stewardship campaign so that we can know what to expect as an estimate of our baseline giving, which you do so generously and faithfully, and we're grateful for it. Pledging is simply an estimate of what we plan to give. Okay? Things can change, as we all know. Things are, I've never been a part of a church that did an annual stewardship campaign or a 3-year campaign where there weren't worries about things like the economy, the uncertainty of life, whether or not we could really do it. These are all natural human emotions. But as we get going, we'll talk more about these two campaigns and try to define the difference so that you can see. Here's the thing. It's because of our low reserves. We have now grown, as Tammy will tell you, to the point where we are receiving, it appears, from your regular baseline giving, close to the amount of offerings we need to be sustainable at a $402,000 annual operating budget, which is what the leaders are going to propose, exactly the same as last year's. No change. Although Tammy will tell you a couple things we were able to do, finding some savings on routine items, putting it back into ministry, which is exciting. Now, the Flourish Next campaign may be something new to do it exactly this way for this congregation, but it is standard in most churches in the United States that when there are needs to be addressed that exceed the ability of a congregation to pay out of its general operating budget for all of them, they do a 3-year campaign. We'll define what that is. So I'm telling you what I'm going to tell you, then we'll tell you, and then we'll tell you what we told you, and we'll send you home, okay? The leadership of this campaign team, here's some names. There are also some other names that aren't on there. Tammy Frazier is our campaign chair. She's also our treasurer. Would you wave, Tammy? You'll hear more from her in a minute. Hi, Tammy. Tricia Stevens. Anybody ever met her? She's right there. Wave in case there are new folks. Yes. Tricia is the voice of New Covenant. She answers the phone. She's our nursery director. She does the bills. I don't think she watches Cars. I dare you to ask her. No, I wouldn't. Yeah, she can't reach the top. Not even on some ladders. But Marcy Finch, our board moderator, is on our core leadership team. Thank you, Marcy. You know me. I'm involved. Teresa Board, would you wave, please? She has taken on a spiritual and prayer team. So these neat things like the leaves, and next week we'll have a prayer walk, and that team is working on the spiritual dimension of this. Also working with Teresa, you this morning, Reverend Nancy Hodgkinson. Wave, Nancy, if you don't mind. You saw her leading in worship today if you were present. Beth Girardi, she may not be here. I know she came last time. And then Drew Southworth, I saw him at worship today. But they're working on that team. Sam Maurer is the communication and events team leader. You know Sam Sam well. See what I did there? But also working with Sam, we have James Finch, our facilities manager, helping out, and also Terry Pierce. I thought her, Terry. Pretty much a wonderful team there. And then Gail McNish and Nancy Trench, I didn't see either one of them today. Both of them are talking to key donors who have a history and of really being generous with our congregation. And then Jeree Snyder, where are you, Jeree? I saw you there, Jeree. She'll be working with our follow-up team to make sure everyone has information and to follow up on pledges and things that might be, sometimes it takes a couple weeks after a campaign is concluded to wrap those up. At this time, I'll call on Tammy Frazier, as I said, our campaign chair and our treasurer. I didn't get you with your mouth full. That's good. It's almost like we practiced this once before. So I'll call on Tammy. Tammy, if you would come. I'll move my computer down. And she's going to go over the Nourish Now, which is the annual stewardship campaign. And Sam is telling me, since we're recording this for folks who are unable to physically be present, if you put that on your blazer, maybe that'll record you in the camera. Oh, yes. This one is for Robin's hearing assist.
Okay.
Oh, Miss Oka took
Okay,
it.
there we go.
You know that was part of the deal, didn't you?
Okay. And then the
Same kind of thing.
this way. Okay. All right. Okay, I think we're ready. So, good afternoon. As David mentioned, I'm here to talk about the Nourish Now portion of the campaign, or in other words, the annual budget. So, I want to begin by saying thank you for those of you who heard my talk already. I'm sorry, but thank you for allowing me to speak to you again. For others, thank you for being generous with your time. Your most scarce and precious resource, and showing up today to learn more about the financial needs of New Covenant Christian Church. The first question I'd like to address is simply, what is an annual budget? So an annual budget is the amount of funds it takes for the day-to-day operations of the church over a 12-month period. To illustrate this, I'd like to point to the example of a typical Sunday morning worship gathering. So imagine that you arrive on a Sunday morning. It's rainy and cool, kind of like it was last Sunday, and you enter a space that protects you from the elements. It's dry and the temperature is comfortable as compared to the weather outside. The lights are on, so you can see the smiling faces of the people who greet you and ask you how your week has been. The space makes you feel safe, and the interaction feels warm and caring. There are a number of spaces set up in the narthex with information about ministry and service opportunities, each one thoughtfully planned by New Covenant staff and volunteers, designed to meet the needs of the community and offer an easy way for you to volunteer to make an impact. As you make your way into the main auditorium space, you hear the music being played by talented musicians. Today they happen to be playing one of your favorite songs, and that makes your heart particularly happy. You head over to the coffee and grab a donut to fuel your morning. Sunday school is just letting out, and people are filing in from the various classrooms. In those classrooms are tools and study materials to help make the most of your time together. You hear the sound of children's voices, excited to be in a space where they feel safe, and thoughtful touches like the playground make them feel like they belong. You find your place on a comfortably padded pew, and the singing begins. It's easy for you to sing along because the words to the songs are projected on the screens. Although the space is quite large, there's proper amplification so the sounds are easily heard. After a time of singing, reflection, prayer, and passing of the peace, the children are invited to their own space of worship and wonder, where they will feel safe and have everything they need to explore spiritual topics on an emotional level designed just for them. David will come to the podium to bring carefully crafted words of hope and encouragement. His training, education, expertise, and wisdom are evident, and you feel inspired for another week to more fully love your neighbor. We enter into the practice of communion, and you feel relief at the idea of an open table. You take the bread and the juice and share in this meal with your community. Callie then brings the announcements, and you learn about all the activities and ministry opportunities that are planned for the coming days and weeks. You know you have a place here, and it's good to have so many ways to practice community, justice, and spirituality. You leave feeling hopeful, safe, and loved. So, what is the correlation between this experience and the annual budget, you may ask? Well, my answer is just about everything. Without the annual budget, there would be no safe, warm space, no lights to see the smiling faces, no comfort from the elements, no protection from the storms. There would be no one with dedicated time to plan and coordinate ministry opportunities. Our musicians' talents would be hit or miss, if at all. No coffee, no donuts, sad, no Sunday school, no microphones, no screens, no planned children's programming, no sermon expertise, no juice, no bread, no open table. I'm not trying to be dramatic or use fear as a motivation for giving. What I am trying to do is help you understand that the annual budget represents the funds that make all of ministry happen. Which brings me to my next question, why pledge? Before we address the why of pledging, let me take a moment to explain exactly what is a pledge. So a pledge is a plan, much like the church has a financial plan, the budget. A pledge is a personal plan for the amount you prayerfully plan to give in the upcoming year. Other terms that people might use to refer to this giving might be offering or perhaps tithe, which they base on a percentage of income. So now that we've talked about the question of what is a pledge, let's move on to the question of why pledge. In order to explore this idea, let's talk about a different resource. Let's talk about time. All of us have one or more resources, time, talents, and treasures, as David likes to call them. Have you ever thought about the fact that out of all of these resources, time is the only one that can't be generated or replenished? Here's the deal. We all know that there are 24 hours in a day. This is how we decide each day what gets done and what must wait until tomorrow. What if you didn't have that certainty? What if on any given day you might have 10 hours or 3 hours or 32 hours? You never really knew. How would you ever be able to set a schedule to prioritize and organize your day? How would we plan anything or ensure that anything is ever accomplished? This is what it feels like to have no idea how much money is available for the New Covenant Christian Church ministry. We may know what we have in the bank today, but what happens next week or next month when we have ministry costs that need to be funded? It's an incredibly stressful and unhealthy way to live. Yes, I know we need to have faith, and I agree wholeheartedly, but who among us would feel particularly faithful if we knew all the important things of life that needed to happen, but we didn't know or have any idea how many hours we'd have to plan to get them done? Your pledge allows the peace of mind in knowing that the ministry plan, or the budget, is reasonable and attainable. It allows our paid staff to feel safe and gives them the ability to concentrate on ministry. It allows ministry leads to plan and carry out outreach knowing exactly what resources are available to them. It means that the food pantry can stock food for our neighbors and know that we will have the funds to pay the electric bills so refrigeration and freezing won't be an issue. Now comes the million-dollar question. How much does it take to operate a ministry at the level we are accustomed to for an entire year? The good news, the million-dollar question, doesn't have a million-dollar answer. What we are proposing is an annual budget amount that, to the best of our knowledge and data, appears to be attainable. The 2026 total annual budget amount is unchanged from last year's budget and remains at a little over $402,000. What has changed is that due to frugality and cost-saving measures put in place over the course of 2025, we have been able to reallocate almost $10,000 from internal operating costs to outreach ministry endeavors. It's important to note here that this ministry plan must be fully funded by pledges to ensure that New Covenant is able to have the control necessary to allocate these funds to all the places that we intend for them to go. I also would like to note that the majority of financial stress experienced over the course of the last 12 months has been due to a lack of reserves resulting in cash flow issues, not solely a lack of giving. We project to end 2025 with a year-over-year income increase from 2024 of over $60,000. Furthermore, due to an increase in membership and an ongoing facility rental income, we expect to finish 2025 close enough to our annual budget goal to believe that with continued membership growth and pursuit of other income streams in 2026, we can achieve this budget goal. If we can join together and become rooted as a space of community, justice, and spirituality, we will have the financial resources needed to more fully shine the light of love, the love of God and the love of neighbor in all the dark spaces around us. We ask that you prayerfully consider an amount to pledge to the annual budget campaign. Thank you.
We'll have an opportunity to ask Tammy some more questions very soon, and myself also. Thank you, Tammy. We are very fortunate to have Tammy. I said it last week if you're around, but Tammy actually does this stuff for a living for nonprofits and churches. So to have the luxury of someone follow in Linda Connolly's awesome footsteps as treasurer has been a luxury. Tammy, we thank you very much and appreciate you. Clap for her while I put these things back on awkwardly. Yeah. Didn't clap long enough. Okay, there you go. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So yeah, we're trying to record this for those, like I mentioned earlier, who aren't able to be here. So now there should be brochure on your table. You may have gotten one in the mail. You may have seen it, but let's review just quickly the Flourish Next 3-year revitalization campaign. If you open your flyer, your brochure on one side, it's designed to be opened up all the way, and on one side it represents entirely. This one is the Nourish Now side, and if you turn it around, this side represents the Flourish Next, and that's what we're talking about now. 2 separate campaigns, 1 vision. Remember that. All right, so we were setting, because we're doing this at the same time as our regular annual stewardship drive, it's really recommended to separate these kind of drives about 6 months apart by best practices. But here's the thing. We have so many new members and such low reserves that our leadership felt it was the right thing for our congregation to do at the same time. Besides, you folks are some of the most generous and smart people, and we know that you can catch on to 2 campaigns at the same time, realizing that if you rob Peter to pay Paul, it's still the same bottom line. So, although they will be designated for different things, as we will discuss. So the first thing we did, and we tried to get as many people to participate as possible, somewhere around 46 households participated in a survey that was called the feasibility study. The Disciples Church Extension Fund wanted to get a gauge of how unified are our people, how much trust is there of the pastor, the staff, and those in leadership. Are there other red flags that would make something like this not a good idea? Well, you folks passed with flying colors. They told us there's an 88% excitement, like it's not just agreeable, but 88% very agreeable to this concept from those who participated. So that far exceeds the minimum standards for being able to proceed with something like this and have a really good idea based on them doing this dozens and dozens of times, or well, actually probably more than dozens. The Disciples Church Extension Fund's been doing this since 1883, I think, is what our representative told us. So there's some data, and the data is good upon our viability in terms of trust and the nice things you folks said about each other and about leadership. It's truly inspiring. I'm not going to read the brochure to you, but you can look over there on the left-hand side of it, or you might be able to read. I don't know if you can or not up there, but we've got a bronze goal. Now this is spread out over 3 years. If we could raise an extra $150,000 over the course of 3 years, we could meet our bronze goal. If we raise $225,000 over the next extra above our annual offerings, over the next 3 years, we would meet our silver goal. But ideally, I'm holding on to hope and faith that we can meet our goal of 300,000. That may sound like a lot of money to you. I've been privileged, blessed to be a pastor of congregations that ranged in size from 13 members to 7,500 members. And 300,000 is very doable for us if we really trust one another and trust God and get creative and willing to sacrifice. I think we could easily, I think gold is within reach. Now, that doesn't mean if we hit silver or bronze that we have failed. Any money that we raise on this is money we would not have raised. You have not because you ask not. I think someone famous said that one time. So, that's what we're looking at. So, in the sustain goal, and so these are the real, actually, this not necessarily line up with the goals. We're looking for to be sustainable. We're looking to do some maintenance, and we are looking ultimately to thrive. Now, there's some more details. This, again, thanks to our leadership from John, our representative for the Disciples Church Extension Fund. We've done all this so fast because we didn't get our act together in time in the spring, which is when I would have liked to have done this. But at the time, funds weren't quite as tight. Till you go through summer and you realize, oh, that's every pastor's cycle, you know, and church staff and church leadership. You go through the summer and you realize, oh, you know, people are scattered. Those are the lowest months historically for regular offerings because people travel. Think life is a little different. Then you come back in the fall and you play catch up. We're doing some of that now, but we're trying to get ahead so that we don't have things so tight with this. So, I got some more details for you thanks to John, our Disciples Church Extension Fund. And these are based very tightly, all of these things I'll share with you. And you may have gotten a piece of mail from us, maybe Saturday. If you didn't get a piece of mail that has like a million things in it from us, you probably will Monday. We mailed it Thursday. USPS sometimes can just be unpredictable with these days, with timing. But you can see on your table is also a sheet, and Marcy's holding it up. Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, Vanna.
You're welcome.
So yeah, we've got one side, it's got a project descriptions, and the other side looks like what I'm going over now. So I'm going to start with the side that's facing you. Start going on the bronze goal. If you want, if it's easier for you to read it in front of you, there should be a sheet you could share. Thank you, Marcy.
Yep.
And but if we were to raise 150,000 extra over the next 3 years in pledges, here's kind of a. This is not scientific, okay? It depends. A lot of it depends on cash flow, which is unpredictable. But just figuring on what our needs and what your hopes and dreams that you shared with us in the feasibility study would be for addressing, as well as about 6 different meetings with board members, staff, and other lay leaders. These are the priorities that you all told us you would like to see happen around here, if you participated in the feasibility study. Obviously, as Tammy pointed out, we want to replenish the reserve of our general checking account for our operating budget. So the first year, we would try to hold back a little larger portion of these pledges simply to give us some cash flow flexibility. So $35,000, that would go back into our operating fund so that we don't have to come to you hat in hand every 2 weeks for payroll. It's always my fear, are we going to have to beg for my salary, you know, or the staff's salary? And so that would give us the cash flow that we need. The second one would be a remodel of the sanctuary bathrooms. I think I've heard it once, I've heard it a million times in the 4 years that I've been here. As of December 1st will be my 4th year here, my reign of terror. So remodel the sanctuary bathrooms. That is an issue of hospitality. It's an issue of accessibility. It's an issue of just the fact that when you have a public and shared facility, it needs to be updated every so often and look like it was done in the last decade or two. So be addressing those bathrooms, and I'm talking about the bathrooms nearest the sanctuary in the far northeast corner. So things like new flooring. You can read all. I'm going to get one of these too because I don't have the good notes up here. Thank you. So things like new flooring, things like maybe some new sinks, new cabinetry. Maybe checking. In the women's restroom. There's an issue with some moisture leaking in from the exterior wall of the church. Maybe some air blowing in there that we need to address from a structural perspective as well. So these are important spaces. New flooring, cabinets, water heaters, sinks, paint. And art and decor will make these bathrooms a wonderful way not only to enjoy them as members of the congregation, but also to show hospitality to those folks that God sends our way in the future. Then, of course, what we have determined if we only raised $150,000 in the bronze goal, we would need to rely more on membership growth in order to fund other things. And so the first year, we would look at doing 3 direct mail growth campaigns to help generate that, because it takes, when folks join a church, it's usually 12 to 18 months before they feel comfortable really giving what they're going to kind of settle in at. It takes a while to know the trust level. Relationships don't just happen overnight, and it's all about relationships. So we would try to, I'm not sure what's going on. It's probably some trucker driving by saying breaker, breaker 19. I don't know, interfering. So we'll be looking at doing those. And what we learned over the last couple of new members classes, roughly 75% of the new members we've gained in the past few years have come as a result of a postcard they received in the mail. The others came largely from relationships where you said, hey, I've got this great church. We're doing this special thing in the fall or in the spring. Would you just come check it out? And amazing, you people are friendly. When they show up, they find meaning and purpose and friendship here. So that's the best way we can continue to get our message spread is with those to the community. Year 2, again, replenishing reserves, but decreasing. Notice that amount, decreasing. Our goal is to try to get a couple months worth of ordinary operating expenses built up into the checking fund. And how many air conditioners do we have, Terry, on the roof?
28.
28, but who's counting? What's their average age?
25 years.
25 years. What's their average lifespan normally? 15? Yeah, we're living on a prayer, as Bon Jovi sang. I used that joke last week. Wasn't funny then either. But it's all I got. So we really are. And they cost about $12,000 and change each to replace. So this building has an unusual zoning for the HVAC. And we've got to deal with that by replacing these units. And this, again, we'll do more likely that second year, a direct mail campaign normally in January. That's the time people are thinking about, I've been out of church, New Year's resolutions, doing this year a little bit better, getting back to church is one of those things that folks think about in January. And then the other one, September, after the summertime, people getting back to a rhythm again and looking or open to a faith community. We've seen that to be true. The third year, about the same back into reserves at the bronze level, $20,000 there. Replace 2 HVAC units. And then again, 2 growth campaigns through direct mail. If we accomplish our silver goal, year 1, we would go for a more ambitious $50,000 back into the reserves. If you do the math, 402,000 divided by 12 is, Tammy? I was a music major. Whatever it is, we're going to go try to get a couple months, 2.5 months, 3 months worth of money built back into our checking. Not so that we can hoard it, just so we don't have to worry about operations. Remodel the sanctuary bathrooms, I already described that. Replace 1 HVAC unit, 2 growth campaigns through the direct mail. Second year, replenish the reserves at a much lesser level, 20,000 back. And then this is exciting. This came to us through our feasibility study and meetings with many of our leaders. And this is something I'm excited to talk about that we just came out in the mail for those that didn't make it. But you here today may have gotten a piece of mail and I'm going to tell you about it. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions. But it's no secret. This church has long been passionate about outreach ministry, serving our neighbors, especially our neighbors in need. And that is a part of this church's DNA. And also, have you ever noticed how this building is kind of a maze to walk around in? Very sprawling. That's what happens when you build in phases, right, over the years. Okay, we got to add this. And then we add this piece. Well, and then it gets jumbled around. And sometimes you just have to say, time out, let's do a space audit. Let's figure out if we're really using the building to the most efficiently to really further the mission. And right now, I would dare say that things are a bit scattered. And that came to us through your feedback also. So what we would be looking at doing is perhaps all of the classrooms on the north side of the sanctuary is maybe designating every single one of those from that cry room area all the way back into the corner as an outreach wing. We already have clothing ministry in there and some other things. But maybe moving the food pantry, maybe add an appliance or 2 so that we can continue to increase our feeding ministries. And then maybe knocking out a wall or 2. But then there's also in the corner, up by the baptistry, last week it was used by a very aggressive Episcopalian priest related to the Maurer family. I say aggressive because I don't think Episcopalians really immerse people that often, and Oscar got 3 dunks. I mean, I'm going to do that from now on. Anyway, sorry, but I digress. But in the corner is a small bathroom with just a toilet and a sink now that we could convert to a shower. And that could be a part of our outreach wing, and that hopefully one day our vision is to be able to offer free medical clinic, maybe on a weekly basis out of that area. Maybe also our food pantry, our clothing ministries, but also maybe things like haircuts for those experiencing homelessness or who could not afford otherwise to do those kinds of things, and other just basic necessities to improve the quality of life of our neighbors. And we could even use, because of the way we've been able to set up our sanctuary now with a little extra space with the tables and so forth and back, we feel like that could kind of serve as a community center as well. And the very back corner of the room that Callie now uses for worship and wonder might be used as a sort of either a waiting room or a supply room if people are waiting to use some of the other services there as well, if they didn't want to hang out in the sanctuary, or maybe just a place to check in if they're coming to receive services that we offer. So that's a big, ambitious dream. The other side of this is if we have a shower in the building, which we do not now, that would be one of the pieces necessary for our Covenant Kids Play School to become a fully certified DHS qualified daycare, which would then in turn increase revenues to fund the church's ministries in the long term. We cannot offer more than 15 hours worth of childcare if we're not DHS certified. We cannot be DHS certified if we don't have 2 things. I mean, maybe more than 2, but 2 major things. The most expensive, a shower, laundry, a washer and dryer, and then a sprinkler system over the entire building, which we'll talk more about. We have 45,000 square feet. 19,000 of those square feet are not sprinkled with fire suppression currently. So not only would it be safer for our own use of the building, for those others who use the building at other times, like banquets we host for nonprofits and other things, but this would enable us to have the Covenant Kids Play School generating a substantial addition of income to the revenue streams, potentially. All right. So that's pretty exciting stuff, if you ask me. Of course, then another HVAC unit and a couple campaigns for direct mail. The third year, the other really exciting thing, a parking lot resurface. Yay! How about that? By the way, someone is jumping the gun and helping us fill potholes. And is it tomorrow? Tomorrow the potholes will be filled. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. And a very generous member is paying for that. Not just a cold patch, a hot patch, which is a lot better on the asphalt side. But the resurface would include, all the cracks and crevices and some restriping and all the things that it really takes to make it truly sound and welcoming. So that would be exciting. The other things I've talked about, when I say HVAC units, it's not sexy, but I don't know about you, but I'm in favor of air conditioning, especially when it's hot around in Oklahoma.
Amen.
Amen. So if we get the goal, again, replenishing the reserves, you know what that is, remodeling sanctuary bathrooms. We talked about HVAC units, campaigns, just a simple refresh in year 1, because we would be going pretty aggressive, doing two air conditioning units with replenishing our reserves to that extent. The really exciting things would start to happen that are new, that we haven't talked about so far in year 2. The sprinkler system and suppression for the fire, that's $80,000 is the cheapest bid we could get so far. It is not cheap. We only got, we get 2 or 3 bids, James? I can't remember, on the sprinklers.
We had one company that they came in, looked, and said, we won't even touch it.
Yeah, it's a little bit tricky the way that our layout is. So it's not a cheap thing. We might be able to get it done a little less. If we get it done a little less, we'll come back to you and say, what do you want to do with that extra money? On the other hand, things don't tend to go down. The average price of construction goes up 10% a year, factoring in inflation and materials purchases and labor. So we want to get to that sooner than later. We, again, do the outreach ministry wing and shower, as we talked about. And then year 3, again, a smaller amount, replenishing the reserves, 2 more HVAC units. And the goal, we do the parking lot resurface. Then, if we were able to do the sprinkler and fire suppression system, it would enable us to really use our building more efficiently And to take these rooms that are just on the other side of this wall, the nursery area and these smaller children's rooms that are just in this part of the building, walk through there if you've never done it, okay? If not today, next week we'll have an opportunity after service to do a prayer walk, or we'll be around some of you. But look at these rooms. They were designed in a different era when there would be 2 or 3 kids per class, and or a handful of kids per class. And what we've learned is kids actually need lots more square foot per kid than adults do per adult. That's a science of it. It makes for behavior problems. It makes for attention span problems. It makes for just a less pleasant learning experience and for children. And so what we would do is go in here and knock out some walls, grab Callie sometime when she's got time and have her talk about exactly which ones and what we can talk about along the way. But we might have to just rearrange a little bit. But basically, we're blessed with this. The building truly is commercial, which means the exterior walls are load-bearing, and use steel beams to support things. And none of the interior walls are load-bearing in this whole building, except where buildings were joined together, like this wall, the other side of that wall. But all the interior ones can be very easily removed. Now, that doesn't mean you have to reroute some electricity or some fire suppression or some other things. But what we would do is remodel the children's area here so that all of our children for church ministries on Sundays and Wednesdays could potentially be here. And the play school would be at the very back. And what used to be, if you're a long-time member, they still call them the old Montessori rooms. If you're like me, you hardly ever have a reason to go all the way back there. But they're lovely rooms. They're larger, they're bright and colorful. Our play school uses them now, but we would kind of snake back into the back of the youth area, put in a bathroom or two so that they would have DHS certifiable, correct number of bathrooms. And we would either move the director of the play school into the office area where the rest of the church staff is, or kind of build in a little corner office for her in that part of the building. Right now, the play school there are some parents that have to drop one child off at the front and then drive all the way back around and check the other one in at the back for security for the children, the way that we're set up. This would enable all of the check-in for the play school to be at the back. It would enable our own children on Sundays and on other days where the church is here to use these rooms and be closer to the sanctuary. It's very unwelcoming to try and navigate a visitor all the way back into the back recesses of this place. I got lost for 6 months around here, and I worked here more than full time, okay? So that was a big dream that came through, and that excited about that possibility. And we can do all of that if we hit the gold. I think we can. Now, this is just a chart the Disciples Church Extension Fund gave us of what the typical gifts pledged over a 3-year period would have to look like for a generally successful $300,000 3-year campaign covering over 3 years. You can kind of look at this. It's basically just designed for you to look down the list and go, kind of self-identify. That would kind of be my range. I could take care of that or whatever. So this also should have been mailed to you, I think, in your packet. If you didn't get it yet, I bet you will Monday. But just start to prayerfully consider what you might be able to do for this 3-year campaign. Now, on your table is I think one of the only things printed in color, a different sheet called Ways of Giving. Thank you, Vanna. And and you look down here and it's got an explanation on the back, but this chart is where I'm starting. If you want to share that or just maybe you can read it. Of course, you can give an outright gift by cash, check, credit card, just out of your normal income. But there are other ways to give. Appreciated securities, earnings from investments, gifts of real estate, life insurance, qualified charitable distribution from the IRA. We are also set up to receive stock transfers. We've had generous gifts of stock in the past year or two that have really been beneficial for our congregation to stay on track with our income and expenses. So take time and think creatively. One thing that Cherie and I are talking about doing, the church is you all are very generous to me, and you place a generous amount every month into a pension fund for me. And Cherie and I are even talking about ways that we might be able to access some of that and return it to the church so that we can give a larger gift than just our out of our own income. So I want you to know that Cherie and I are also praying about sacrificial ways to support the campaign. And I hope that you'll join me in that. What can God do through me? That's what Sheree and I are praying. So how can you be a part? Well, you can pray for the church and its future. If you participated in worship today with the leaves, that's just a symbol. Prayer is not just praying. It is really uniting with the heart of God for our church and its future. You can make a pledge in the Nourish Now. You can make a pledge in the Flourish Next 3-year campaign. You could even volunteer to help with the campaign. And we're always looking for more hands to do God's work. What's next? Next Sunday after worship, we'll have a prayer walk. And Teresa and our prayer team will be leading us. And on November the 16th, please, 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 it's Commitment Sunday. We ask that you please have your pledges returned on or before November the 16th. It's be exciting in worship. We'll have our couple of our Connect and Give stations set out up front. You can walk up. You can put a physical card in as we sing and worship. You can pledge online. You go to our it's nccokc.org/rooted in rising, which should be on the cards. It should be on the letter that we mailed all of you if we had your street address. But we're going to have a meal afterwards, and it's multiple-purpose meal. Celebrate the pledges for the Nourish Now, which is our annual, and the Flourish Next, which is our 3-year, but also to elect officers for 2026, and also to officially adopt or amend the proposed budget for 2026, $402,000 and change. On your brochure, it kind of spells out a narrative budget. If you want a line-by-line copy of the budget, you're a number cruncher, Tricia, wait, she's got them. You can get a line by line. There are no secrets. It's all transparent. And you'll have that available also next week when we come. We'll also send out an email very soon. As soon as we get confirmations back from people on nominations, we'll be emailing through the midweek messenger. You can have access to the documents before and be able to review them as well. All right. Questions? Comments? Concerns? Sam, have you got that other microphone? I'm going to turn loose of this one because I can talk loud enough in here for you to hear me. And people, I'm sorry, I'm yelling into Robin's ear. I know. Okay. And also to those that are re-recording, it's a wireless mic for the camera. But Sam, I'll give you both of these. So what excites you? What questions you have? What fears? What makes you nervous? What additional information are you wondering about? Robin.
I have 2 questions. They're kind of unrelated. With the HVAC stuff that we're planning or we're trying to plan, are we thinking along the lines of adding any kind of solar component so we don't have to keep paying?
There has been discussion of that. You know, the current administration, I believe, did away with some of the credits for individuals on solar. But the good news is, as of yet, or at least right now, there's still credit for nonprofits. So as a baseline, we could get 30% back from the federal government of what we would spend on them. We would still have to either borrow, raise, or come up with the funds up front, but we would get 30% back. We might get 40% back. I looked into it a little bit. It's a little bit of a question mark whether we could get the 40% back. There are some grants. If we had people that were willing to look into the grants, there are grants through the Interfaith Power and Light. I forget the last part of that. Interfaith Power and Light. There are grants sometimes through our denomination for such things. And it definitely is something I think is worth looking into. We just need folks with the time to do that research and hard work and bring back all the correct information for us.
Okay, and then the other question is, have we thought about doing a GoFundMe page?
No, and I'll tell you my hesitation with doing that is that they can send a mixed message to people who already have a bad taste in their mouth for religion. And so generally speaking, it's best for the members and friends of a congregation that are closely, very much stakeholders and members of the community to fund that. Now, that doesn't mean if there's not a special need. I have seen it work for a very targeted special need, like an air conditioner goes out and we don't have the cash flow for it. You know, like a one-shot item, I think. But in terms of just funding the general operations that way or the 3-year campaign.
I was thinking more along the lines of like funding some of the nursery reorganization or putting in a shower so that we can be more open to the community.
Yes. I mean, I think it's a good idea. I'm just speaking for myself, that I have seen that backfire on some of my colleagues. with negative feedback, criticism from the community. All churches want is money.
Okay.
But they don't have a relationship, so they're not understanding the actual ministry. So that's why it can be a little dicey, I guess. That's just I'm just one person. I'm a really big bald person, but I'm just one person. Yeah. Anybody else? Questions? What excites you? Yes. No, but it's the folks that are on the recording that aren't able to be here, though. So, yeah.
Do you have to pull permits whenever you remodel? Because I know whenever I do work, I have to always get someone to pull a permit for me.
Some of it, undoubtedly, we would. Other parts of it, we wouldn't.
Okay.
The fire suppression will be watched very closely.
Oh, yeah.
And but some of the things a lot of the things we're talking about aren't major structural things.
No.
You know, they're just knocking out a wall, moving a single wire. So we wouldn't have to pull it for all of it, but the bigger pieces we definitely would.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a good question. It's like you know what to build. You know about building stuff, don't you?
A little bit.
Yes, you do. What else? What excites you? What makes you nervous? What questions? I like questions. I'd rather have questions. I'd rather have excitement. So think about it. We're not going to rush you. What do we leave out? Is anybody excited? Possibilities?
Are those mail outs for membership? Is that what they're for?
They're for membership growth. Yeah, we basically a direct mail piece to roughly 8,000 to 10,000 people, generally on average. By the time you buy a list and target the folks in your area, on average costs about $5,000 per mail out. We've had very good success. Lately, it seemed when we just went 2.75 miles out from the church in all directions, has been the last couple of them, and we've had very good success in terms of numbers of visitors, retaining. I mean, we're retaining crazy amounts. I mean, in seminary, they taught us if you retained 25% of the people who ever visit your church for the first time, that is the gold standard. We've been more like 68 to 75% we're retaining. So, and it's a combination. It's not just a one reason. There's a lot of reasons. Worship has to be meaningful. The congregation has to be not just friendly, but welcoming and hospitable. And you have to have other things for people. The other thing that people really are looking for is a way to roll up their sleeves and make a difference in their community. And taking a stand for justice these days is something most congregations won't do. I see Suzanne's hand right here. Sam, would you find her so she can speak into the recording and to the microphone? Thank you, Sam.
I have a comment.
All right.
Several years ago, I visited
Mayflower?
Mayflower. Yeah, and I'd heard lots of good things about it. But do you know, not a person spoke to me? The whole time, not one person spoke to me. And I came here, and almost everybody spoke to me.
Everybody does.
Yeah. Well, I love Mayflower, and Lori Walkie is one of my best friends in the world. But that has, I'm sorry that was your experience there. And all I can do is just brag on this congregation and say, this is the exception.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a warmth here. I'll just speak to what's positive about us. And there's a warmth and there's an energy, and it's because of you all. So thank you all. Marcy. Sam's coming.
I'm dragging my husband up here. Okay, you can hold that thing.
Sure.
Okay, most of you know me. I'm Marcy and James, and I'm the board moderator. I just wanted to let you guys know that along with our pastor and his wife, that James and I have also been in prayerful contemplation, and we will be giving our pledge, working on it this weekend and presenting it next week.
Yeah.
So we are very proud of this church and feel passionate toward where the future is going with our church.
Thank you all. You're very precious to us. Yeah, I will be out. I sent they may not have seen it yet, about 6:15 this morning, I sent the campaign leadership team an email asking everybody to be prayerful and get their pledges in a week early. So what I hope to do is to come back and just tell you what I gave you those names earlier, the campaign team, is to come back hopefully by next week and give you a preliminary total of the pledges just from our leadership team to show you that we believe in what we're doing. So you can wait until then and go, are they really going to come through? And then decide. Anybody else? All right. Thank you for being a church that a pastor can be proud of, and that, more importantly, Jesus is proud of. It's a delight to serve with you. I mean that. One of the greatest honors of my life. Thank you. Would anybody like to pray us out? I mean, I'll do it, but I'm the paid professional Christian. Samantha, pray us out. I'm going to put this over here, so I'll just stand by you. I bet it'll be fine. I'll get down here.
If y'all would bow your heads. Man, Father, we just thank you for this day, Father, and thank you for this community, and just thank you for everybody that you brought into this community, and just touch our hearts and open our hearts, Father. And as we leave here, just pray safety over every one of us, Father. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.